Action!
Hi, everyone. I'm Beth Johnson, and with me, as always, is scientist Frank Marchese, and this is the Grudge Report. So, we are back working on our special 10-part series of the best of Stargate, covering one episode per season as chosen by the Stargate fans on gateworld.net, and we are very appreciative of their support. So, thank you, everybody. This week's show, we are covering Season 2, Episode 16, The Fifth Race. All right, Frank, you watched it last night. How did you feel about it? Did you like it?
Yes, I did like it. It's a very interesting episode because we see an alien race and we have some discussions about the existence of life elsewhere in our galaxy. So, of course, I liked it.
I like that it really follows on the heels of the last episode that we did, where we did this season 1 episode, The Torment of Tantalus, and this literally feels like it follows like right on that. Like, who cares what happened in the middle? All that matters is, we still have we have all of this knowledge that we want to figure out from the room with all of the chemical signatures, and now we want to now we're going to go find this other ancient world that we found. And so, like, I just love how it just sort of like, wow, good job, fans, for picking this one, because it just follows right along. So
they use the information.
Yeah,
they use the information of what they found on the planet where Ernest was located to find. I'll let you explain the story.
Well, they didn't use that, but they've been they're sending probes to other gate addresses, and they find one that has the similar symbols as from one of the languages on Ernest's planet, because it had the room that had 4 different languages in it, and they recognized the runes of the Asgard, but they didn't know any of the other ones. But then they found this one like chamber that has similar writing to one of the other ones, and so Daniel and Teal'c basically are like, we should go do this. Everybody goes. Jack is unimpressed with the whole thing, wants to leave. Somebody crosses a circle on the floor. I think it was Jack on his way out, and it opens up a device. And Teal'c looks in, and he sees darkness and bright lights. And he steps away, and then Jack looks in, and Jack sees darkness and bright lights, but the bright lights suddenly get closer, and then the device grabs his head, and when he gets let go, he gets knocked out for like an hour, and then starts to lose all language ability and starts speaking in some form of, well, it's not really a form of Latin, but it's probably what Latin was based off of. And Daniel realizes that this is probably the language of these ancient road builders that taught the Romans to build roads and also built the Stargate. So this is really a big deal. And Jack kind of starts losing his vocabulary. He starts speaking in this language. He's doing things he doesn't understand. He's not like the most scientifically adept person, and yet suddenly he's speaking in Latin, and he's building some sort of equipment, and then he's writing all these math equations on the board. And you pointed out that, we've talked about math being a universal language, and yet Samantha walks in and says, I don't know what any of this is. It's nothing I recognize, which was sort of concerning, because if we continue to talk about math as a universal language, what happens when someone uses it and we don't understand it?
Yeah.
So what happened there?
So she claims that basically they're using another type of math because they're using a different numerical system. But
right,
math doesn't change.
Yeah, Jack reveals that 10 equals 8, and that all of the math is in base 8. So, can you explain like what the different bases are and how that works?
Yeah, so this is called arithmetics. Basically, we have 10 digits because we have 10 fingers exactly, and 0 to 9, and all the numbers are based on those. All numbers are made of these 10 digits. Okay, so we can add, multiply them simply by combining them by set of tens, etc. But in fact, human species use different numeral systems. We have been using binary system because we have computers, and computers speaks only so far in 0, 1, we have new computers. One day we're going to talk about that speak in different bits. But right now, that's what we have. The one I'm using right now in front of me and you're using, it's a classical digital computer which speak only in 0, 1. So we use a different numeral system called binary.
And in fact, when there's a point in the episode where Jack reprograms the Stargate computers, and Sam points out that he has done it all in binary. So he is literally just sitting there typing zeros and ones. Although it sounds like he's typing a lot more than that, but it's all zeros and ones that he's put in.
Yeah. And we're also using different type of numeral system. We've been using hexadecimal, 16 digits, also because of computers. When I was younger, I used to be able to convert any number from hexadecimal to decimal just like that. Now I'm not sure I can do that. My brain is not as efficient as it used to be.
My husband's really good with converting from back and forth from binary, and I used to also be pretty good with hex, but I don't use it anymore, so I don't either.
But to clarify, this is not a different type of math. I mean, the equations will stay the same. The logic is the same. The only thing that is changing are the numbers. The numbers will be different, and probably signs will be different. But that's all.
Okay, sure. Why not?
Yeah, it's a TV show. Come on.
It's a TV show, right? You can't solve all the problems in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jack's condition worsens, and they're trying to find a solution to the problem. And when he reprograms the gate in binary, he adds a whole bunch of new planets to the Stargate system, ones that they didn't know were there, new ways of calculating planetary distances or what the math actually was. And they send a team to see if they can find a way to get this to help Jack because it's worsening. And in the middle of all of this, we have this myth that needs to die in a fire. About the well, normally we only use 10% of our brain, but Jack is using 90%, and it's like, oh, this thing just needs to die.
Yeah, people need to stop saying that.
Yes.
We're gonna basically make an announcement here. We don't want anybody watching this show to say ever that human species is using 10% of his brain power. That's not true. That's a scientific myth, which supposedly was said by Albert Einstein, and it's also a myth, by the way. And we really seriously need to stop that. We're using
all of our brain, because there is no part of your brain that can be damaged and not affect you. Exactly. Damage on any part of your brain has an impact on who you are as a person and how you can handle the world around you. So, it's a myth that needs to go away, and it comes up in a lot of. I mean, there's a whole movie based on the premise, right? Like, you take a pill and now suddenly you're using 100% of your brain. Ever. Yeah. There aren't a lot of science myths we like to see go away. This is one of them.
This is definitely. I think this is my top one.
Yeah, writers, no more of that. Please stop. Okay, so unfortunately, this planet that Sam and the rest of the team travel off to, Sam and Tilt go with a couple red shirts. They discover that they can't get home because the dial home device is busted, and they've now got a secondary problem, which is kind of cool from a science standpoint, not cool if you're stuck on this planet. But there's a second sun that's rising, and this is causing a temperature problem. So let's talk about the effects that a second sun would have on a planet.
Yeah, so they're probably on a terrestrial planet around a binary star. So in fact, a lot of stars, and I forgot the percentage, depends on the mass, but a large fraction of the stars in our galaxy are binary, are made of two or even more, multiple, 3, 4 systems together orbiting around the center of mass. So we can expect that some of those planets will have, some of these stars will have planets in orbit around them. So in this case, if you're far away, for instance, and orbiting around this binary, you will always see two suns. But if you are orbiting around one of the stars and the other the other star is far away, you may have some moment for which you have two stars in the sky. And in this case, of course, there will be some variation of temperature because remember the heat, the temperature we have on the planet is coming from the heat of the stars. So two stars mean more heat. In this case, they claim that there will be an increase of temperature to up to 200 Fahrenheit. And I let you convert this in Celsius because I still can't do that. But it's going to be hot. Because I know that when
just shy of the boiling point of water.
Yeah. When I put my barbecue is in Fahrenheit, which I hate, but I know that
my husband is Canadian. Everything that has a temperature in this house has been converted. I have learned to do very fast math in my head so that I know what I'm relating to.
The emergency for them is to leave this planet before the temperature reach the temperature of boiling water, because a human being will not survive in such a hot environment for a few minutes.
No, because we're 75% water, and it will boil just like any other water.
Exactly.
So, and you don't really want that to happen. I mean, as it was, so they have this problem, and I love how the engineers come in and they're like, so we have these tents and we have these air compressors that we can send through it. I'm thinking, yeah, I don't think that's going to help when your temperatures are getting really quickly up over like 130, 140.
And there is one parameter which is super important that they don't even discuss, is how long this will last. And this depends of the period of rotation of the planet, of the star around the other one. They have no idea apparently, because they didn't even know.
There's a lot of unknown orbital mechanics involved here.
So if these 200 Fahrenheit are for like 6 months, you're not going to survive, even if in a cryogenic tent or whatever. And if it's just for a few hours or a few minutes, yeah, maybe. But they don't discuss that. Typical.
No, and they're saying, oh, it'll drop the temperature 10 to 20 degrees, and I'm thinking, with a second sun, that isn't going to help. So yeah, and so all of this is going on, and finally, Daniel lets Neil or Jack know what's going on, so that he's aware. And Jack, of course, comes out and draws like a whole thing on how to fix the dial home device, because he's got all of this ancient knowledge in his head. And yay, so Jack gets to be the one to save the day on the engineering front, which is amazing, because his character is the one whose eyes just glaze over when anyone gives a technical or scientific explanation. And I did love one of my favorite moments was when the two engineers come in to explain what they're working on, and they give this like completely BS answer, and the general turns to Daniel and goes, "Did you understand any of that?" And I'm like, "Oh, good, it wasn't just me, because that was whoever wrote that was great, because it said absolutely nothing with a whole lot of words."
It reminded me some of my meetings, but I'm not going to say with whom.
I feel like I've had to give that answer, when you're just standing there like, I don't have anything for you, so let me BS my way through something that sounds really good.
So there is what I like in this show, in this episode specifically, is that you seize the word without internet. Because like when he starts speaking in Latin, he goes to the scientists go to pick up a book and start looking in a book. You remind me in the 90s, we used to do that, right? Now we just Google it. Let me Google this. Curves.
No, it was so true, because all I could think was, no, now all you do is pull out your phone and get out a translator app and like listen to it, and can it pick up most of it? I had the same reaction, like, okay, no, like, go ahead, speak that again. And I'm like, no, we wouldn't have done that.
And when the colonel is drawing is alone trying to find a solution on how to fix the gate. I mean, in our world, it will be in front of a computer, or at least we have a tablet, and it will be drawing, etc. No, in this series, he's still sitting in front of the table, and there is this thing that we use when we were kids, to make a circle and all of this. I don't even know the name in English of all of this anymore.
Compass. It's a compass. Yeah.
And he started drawing by hand. It's amazing how we forgot about this so quickly.
I
in
know.
fact.
It's again, it's that whole issue where like I have trouble believing that these episodes took place more than um 20 years ago. You know, it's
20
like, no, the
years ago.
90s weren't that long ago. Oh, the 90s were that long ago. No, that can't be right. You know, I have the same problem, and how much technology has advanced in that short time period. We've rescued the team from the hot world with two suns, and Jack is still building this thing, and nobody knows what it does, but it lights up all pretty.
Hmm.
And then he goes in and he attaches it to the power system and runs a gate protocol that throws everybody completely off because it has 8 chevrons instead of our standard 7. So this is the first time we see the Stargate used to dial another galaxy. And of course, obviously this becomes a very big point in the show as we went to spin off Stargate Atlantis and Stargate Universe and those things, because that definitely was the whole premise. But this is the first time we see this, is this eighth chevron and this whole galactic travel thing. And so they basically, Jack has to go by himself, and we end up on, I don't know if it's an alien world or an alien ship. Usually it's probably a world because the stargates are generally anchored to the planets. Um, and we get our basically second real glimpse of the Asgard, who we've only met through Thor one time so far. And even in the beginning, Thor was projecting a human hologram for some of the recorded stuff that he did, so that, you know, it looked human. But now we have Thor looking. He's not here, but now we've got his race, like more members of his race, and they help Jack, who's still only speaking in this ancient language. They seem very shocked to find a human
Hmm.
in that sitting that laid outside their Stargate. Um, One of the things that I did, though, because, you know, we were talking, you had sent me all of your notes, and I was like, well, now I'm curious. I'm pretty sure the Asgard only have 8 fingers, and they do. They only have 8 fingers. So the math might be from them. Like, I don't know,
Hmm.
because I know he supposedly has all of the ancient knowledge in his head. Um, and yet it's the Asgardians that have 8 fingers, and I'm not going to give away the ancients. Like, I'm not going to do that, because that's not any fun. That comes much later. But so, like, there's a potential origin for the base 8 math, at least. Um, but there's a whole
So,
conversation about who these 4 major races are. And one of the things I know you wanted to talk about was this whole concept of humans aren't ready yet. And this is actually a really big deal in our field of SETI research. Um, it comes up a lot, and it's part of the Fermi Paradox.
when they see this human, they start talking about the fact that we're not ready. And
Mhm.
the Fermi Paradox, everybody knows the Fermi Paradox. If you're watching us, you probably know about it. It's the idea that if there is civilization, technological, intelligent civilization in our galaxy, we should see them. Fermi and his friends discussed that in the 60s, and they basically took the world of the 60s and extrapolated, and they said, we see spaceship flying the sky with all these aliens, civilization. Well, it's not the case for multiple reasons, and we could have an entire episode explaining why we don't see those aliens. But one of the hypotheses there is floating around is this idea of the zoo.
Mhm.
And that's this idea that maybe those civilizations are more advanced than us, and they know we're here, and they know that we should evolve at our pace. So they kind of put us into this zone where nobody can go, or not should not be. They should not interfere with us, and they let us grow and evolve naturally without changing the process, because
Right.
technological species should move at their own pace.
It's very much like Star Trek's Prime Directive, right? You
Hmm.
know, don't interfere in the advancement of civilizations that are not as technically advanced as we are, right? And it the whole we I know I'm delving into the in different franchise, but Star Trek, you know, we weren't part of the larger galaxy until we invented warp drive, right? That was sort of the signal that, okay, humans are ready. So here we have humans landing, a human showing up in a different galaxy on an alien world with a race that is clearly very ancient, right? We don't know just how ancient obviously around a long time if you're able to figure out how to get from one galaxy to another. We haven't figured out how to get from one planet to another with humans yet. So, that's a huge advance. But yeah, they do make the comment that the reason that Jack is not doing well is that obviously, like, his brain isn't, physiologically capable of handling all this information, which begs the question, what is the thing holding us back? Like, how are we not ready? And I don't feel like we got an answer. Is it a physiological issue? If Jack's brain isn't ready, how long is that going to take for evolution to kick that up a notch? Or is it a scientific advance? Because now they're saying, but you're close, like you're on your way to being the fifth race. And so now that implies more that, oh, okay, well, just a few more technological advancements and we would be there. And so, but there's never really an answer given as to what either of these things entail.
It's because you want to have a lot of seasons, so you're not going to reveal everything right away. Or probably when they wrote that, they didn't have yet a clear idea what they wanted to say. But it's a very good conversation to have, whether or not our evolution will one day give us, if there is those extraterrestrial civilization around us, will give us a first contact. Maybe that's something they're waiting.
So tell me a little bit, we talked about this before the show, but tell me a little bit about this Christmas tree explanation for finding civilizations.
Yes.
We've talked about the zoo issue, which is that, we're not scientifically up to the standards of races that might be watching us. But there's also this Christmas tree idea, which kind of plays into the Drake equation. So how does this one work?
So this is also an explanation for the Fermi Paradox. One of the reasons we have not seen yet an intelligent technological civilization is because we don't have one close to us. We can imagine that technological civilization evolve, appear, develop, create spaceship, whatever you want, nuclear power point, and then collapse for some reason. There's a multiple reason for which a technological civilization will collapse. It could be due to a natural process, like an impact of an asteroid on the planet, a supernova nearby that wiped out the entire planetary system or sterilized it, or it could be also self-destructions, such as war or economical system, which it doesn't lead to anywhere. So the problem with that is that technological civilizations are fragile, so they appear and disappear. Maybe they have a lifetime of 1,000 or million years. And since the distance between stars in our galaxy can be enormous, if two civilizations want to be able to communicate, they need to evolve and appear at the same time. So we call this the Christmas tree concept. Is simply that if you look at the galaxy from above and you line up every civilization which are technological, you may see over the billion years some point lining up for a few seconds and disappearing, and etc. And they could be far away from each other. So that means they will never be able to communicate to each other, to know even their existence. That's a sad part.
And we're just talking about the galaxy. Like, we're not even talking about the universe, right? This is just galactic scale.
Galactic scale. So, and this show, it kind of describe that. The fourth race, the ancient, we don't know anything, unless we don't know the future of the show. But for the moment, based on what I watch, I have the feeling that the ancient appeared first, had the technology, created the gates, gave the gates, connected with the other races, the Asgard and so on, and then disappeared. Maybe something happened to them. So it's possible that in the future, when we look at stars and planetary system, we will find not gates, not stargates, but maybe some structures around the suns which could be the sign that there was some, at the time, an intelligent technological civilization over there, like a Dyson sphere.
And this is sort of that searching for artifacts when it comes to SETI, rather than searching for signals, searching for the artifacts left behind by ancient civilizations.
Yeah, like we do that on Earth by looking at past civilization, Stone Age, the Mesopotamian, etc. It's archaeoastronomy in this case. It's the search for archaeological artifacts in the galaxy, and we're not that far to probably discover one of those.
Oh, someday. I hope in my lifetime.
Someday. So can we talk about the Asgard and the morphology of them?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. I know you wanted to talk about our little gray men.
The gray men. So one thing is that those Asgard really look like the gray alien, which is kind of a family of aliens, which has kind of, people call them also the Roswell Greys or the Greys. They're really like those, the way we see those aliens in the literature from the 70s to the 90s, basically.
Or even back further, like the 50s and stuff. Yeah.
Short,
big black eyes.
Big black eyes, big brain, kind of translucent grayish. I don't know why this has been into the popular culture, frankly.
But I do like that Stargate included it, that instead of, they just kind of went with it. Like, this is why people have seen these things, because they really exist.
Exist, yeah.
They've been accidentally observed, and so they're in the public consciousness, even though there's no evidence. But now the Stargate team at least has evidence that these are real. And we learn more about them as we go, but I don't want to get into that because, that spoils a little bit. But
so the planet they are on, because it's on a planet, it's not on a spaceship, it's called Otala Look. Right. And the planet seems to be habitable, temperate, once again, breathable. There seems to be oxygen in it.
Right. I mean, Jack didn't have any problems. There wasn't a problem with him rolling out, so...
And it's not in our galaxy, as you mentioned. It's in a galaxy called Ida, which is not a galaxy that exists. We have an asteroid called Ida, but we don't have a galaxy called Ida. Located... Go ahead.
It's interesting because I went to kind of hunt it down and see if there was any sort of correlation with it. And I would love to talk to whoever the science advisor was at the time. But there is a theory out there that someone proposed that this and some of the other races we see later on in the Stargate worlds, that the galaxy is part of a particular galaxy cluster located about 4 million light years away. And so there is some theory, but of course it's fan theory. So whether or not there's any truth to it, like, again, that would be I need a science advisor from that time period of the show to find out.
So 4 million light years away, it's kind of realistic for a galaxy to be not too far away from us. The closest one is Canis Major, which is a dwarf galaxy, is 25,000 light years away. Then we have Sagittarius, which is 70,000. Then we have the Magellanic Cloud. The large one is 180,000 light years away. The big galaxy far away is Andromeda. Andromeda is 2.5 million light years away. And it's a big galaxy and closing. It's almost as big as our. And then we have the Triangulum galaxy, which is a beautiful galaxy to watch with a telescope, which is 3 million light years away from us. Right. So Ida, the theoretical Ida, could be the triangular galaxy, for instance.
I've seen that proposed as well, that Ida, based on the distance kind of given, could be the triangulum, which, would also make sense.
Which is our cluster, our nearby galaxy in the cluster of Virgo. So that's the name of this cluster of galaxy that we have.
Right? So, anything else you wanted to talk about? Everything turns out all right. Jack gets the ancient knowledge removed from his head and comes home all nice and safe and sound and remembers nothing of any of that, but he does, of course, remember meeting the Asgard. He doesn't let on at the time. I'm sure there's some discussion later, but but yeah. So it was I really like that this kind of followed on our little our last episode with Ernest that it sort of just played right off of what we learned from there. So this is good job, fans. Good job. Excellent choice.
Excellent shows. Yes, definitely. This first contact is, I think, it's a very interesting scene. There's so many in this 5 minutes conversation, not even, which are related to the SETI research. I mean, when I watched that, I was writing my notes. Oh my god, I'm gonna be able to talk about this and that and that. I was all excited about that. So thank you.
I know this has been good so far. I'm really happy with it with this run. I really, I'm gonna put my voice out there. Bring Stargate back. Let's get some more Stargate because this is excellent. So I have to admit, I get a little choked up when I hear the theme music and everything because I really missed this show. It was so good.
Yeah, there is rumor he may come back. Let's see.
Yeah, I know a couple of people have been pushing for it, so we'll see how this goes. The pandemic has kind of put everything on hold. So once we get back into some sense of normalcy, hopefully we can see that progress and we can get a new Stargate show. All right, everybody, that's it. We'll be back in a couple weeks with the next episode of Stargate. But I know you and Margaret will be back next week with another episode of The Expanse Season 4.
Yep, that's correct.
All right. So make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you get notified when our new shows come up. And always feel free to leave comments or, 5 or 6 and, give us your fan theories. What's your headcanon? And I hope you enjoy this. So thanks, everybody, for watching.
Bye.
Bye.